If you never watched Ronaldo play football, we're sorry, you just weren't lucky. We're talking about the greatest centre forward to have ever played the game. A lethal striker, pure goal scorer, and a proper entertainer. You hear older football fans always put him on the list of the greatest footballers ever, and it leaves you asking, how good was prime Ronaldo Nazario? We have 1,000,001 stories to tell you. Where do we even start? Okay, let's start with the fact that he didn't start brilliantly. He was born into an underprivileged family in Brazil. His parents got separated when he was only 11 years old, and soon after, he dropped out of school to pursue a football career. He started with futsal, and boy was he incredible. People who knew him said it was like he was from the moon. Former Brazil international Jairzinho, who was a coach at the time, spotted him and signed him. When Ronaldo was just 16, he was already being approached by the biggest clubs in Brazil. Botafogo and Sao Paulo were interested in signing him, but he rejected both of them. He was a fan of Flamengo, and that was the club he wanted to join, but they then rejected him. He ended up moving to Cruzeiro in 1993, and that same summer, he followed the team on a friendly tour of Portugal. During the tour, he played against Porto, and he was so good that the club immediately sent a bid of $500,000 for him. But Cruzeiro's president turned it down to keep Ronaldo at the club. How did Ronaldo start the season? He finished 20 goals in 21 games and finished as the top scorer in the Supercopa Libertadores, becoming the youngest ever player to achieve that feat. He then went on to become the second youngest South American to score a hat-trick in the Brazilian league, behind only Pelé. At this point, the entire world began to pay attention to this wonder kid. He was a star in the making, and everybody wanted him. He scored 44 goals in 47 games for Cruzeiro and helped the club win the Copa do Brasil for the first time in their history. Because of these performances, he was named in Brazil's 1994 World Cup squad, which meant that he won the World Cup at the tender age of 17, becoming only the second youngest player to ever win the World Cup, once again behind only Pelé. During the World Cup, Romario told Ronaldo that it was time to move to Europe and advised him to move to his former club PSV. He heeded this and made the move to Europe at 17, and his life simply did not remain the same again. He scored just 10 minutes into his PSV debut and scored a brace on his home debut. At the end of his first season in Europe, Ronaldo had scored 30 goals. May we remind you that he was just 18 years old. We had never seen a thing like this before. And no, don't take our word for it. Following his dominant performance against Bayer Leverkusen in the UEFA Cup when he scored a hat-trick, Rudi Völler, a World Cup winning striker himself, said that he had never seen an 18-year-old play that way ever. Nick Miller, a match reporter for The Guardian, said Ronaldo looked complete, even as a skinny teenager, while Rob Smythe called him the first PlayStation footballer. Everyone who watched Ronaldo play was in awe of him, and then he went on to finish as Eredivisie's top scorer in his first season, proving his admirers right. At this point, the teenage striker was on top of the world, but something super tragic happened in his second season in Europe, which brought him back down to earth immediately. We'll tell you about that tragedy in a second, but first, if you've been enjoying this video so far, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so you can see more stuff like this. In Ronaldo's sophomore year at PSV, he sustained an injury to his knee, which meant that he missed a lot of games. The effects of that injury were not felt at the time. It was years later that we got to see how destructive it would be. But in the short run, things were still okay. Ronaldo came back from his injury and was still as good. He went on to score 19 goals in 21 games and led PSV to a Dutch Cup victory. These 2 years in the Netherlands were enough to gain the attention of the biggest clubs around Europe. He scored 54 goals in 58 appearances for the club, and everybody was moved. Barcelona and Inter Milan appeared to be the clubs who wanted him the most, but it was Barcelona who appeared willing to pay a world record fee to sign him in 1996. He was just 19 at the time, but anyone who'd watched Ronaldo play knew that there was absolutely no risk with that signing. He was surely gonna ball at Barcelona and earn them returns on every cent of that investment. There was no doubt about it. And did he? You bet he did. He went to Barcelona and made the club his own. One could argue that he peaked when he was with the Blaugranas. He scored 47 goals in 49 appearances in his first season at Barcelona, winning the La Liga Golden Boot and the European Golden Shoe. But it was not just that he was scoring goals, it was also about how he was scoring those goals. He was dribbling, dazzling, embarrassing defenders and goalkeepers, and just always putting up a show. Step-overs and the Galactico were his trademark moves, and nobody executed them half as well as he did. You just could not stop him whenever he pulled out his bag of tricks. In his first season at Barcelona, Ronaldo won the Spanish Super Cup, Copa del Rey and the UEFA Cup Winners' Cup. Then, in 1996, at the age of 20, he was named FIFA World Player of the Year, becoming the youngest player to ever win that award. He would then go on to win the Ballon d'Or the following year, also becoming the youngest ever footballer to win the award. He was just 21. For context, Cristiano did not even make it to the top 3 until he was 22 years old. That's how good Ronaldo Nazario was. But unfortunately, Barcelona did not get to enjoy him so much. He was supposed to be at the club for 8 years per his contract, but there were problems with renegotiations. The agreement collapsed, and after just one very brilliant year, Ronaldo was off. Inter Milan, who'd missed out on him the previous season, came knocking and broke the world record to sign him. This made Ronaldo only the second ever player in football history to break the world record transfer fee twice. Who was the first? Diego Maradona. Yeah, that's the table Ronaldo was sitting on at the tender age of 21. And this guy needed no time to adapt. He got to Inter Milan and hit the ground running. He helped them win the UEFA Cup and was even named the MVP in the final. He was also named Inter Milan Player of the Year and Serie A Footballer of the Year. That same season, he won his second FIFA World Player of the Year award. It was just his first year in Italy, you know? He was something else. After that brilliant season, he went into the World Cup as one of the biggest stars of the sport. All eyes were on Ronaldo to dazzle on the biggest stage, and he did not disappoint. He led Brazil to the final, finishing as the top assist provider and the best player of the tournament, having been directly involved in 7 goals in the campaign. He would have brought home the trophy, but something super tragic happened just hours before the final against France. Ronaldo suffered a seizure, which first forced the coach to take him out of the starting 11. But after a lot of external pressure, he put Ronaldo back in. But he was just not the same person. Ronaldo was a shadow of himself in that game. People said he sleepwalked through that final. With their best player nothing close to 100%, Brazil lost that game and the trophy. But it was not to be the end for Ronaldo and Brazil. He owed them one, and he made sure to deliver. But before he even got that chance, injuries began to properly deal with him. On the 21st of November 1999, Ronaldo picked up a very damaging injury during a Serie A game. He ruptured a tendon in his knee and needed surgery, so he was out for 5 months. When he came back in April 2000, he hadn't even played up to 7 minutes before he completely ruptured the tendons in his kneecaps. For you to know how bad it was, his physiotherapist called it the worst injury he'd ever seen, saying Ronaldo's kneecap pretty much exploded. After that horrible injury in 2000, Ronaldo didn't play football again until 2002. Because of his level of fitness, there was a doubt if he would be fit enough for the World Cup that summer, but Ronaldo insisted on going. The World Cup was his stage, and he was not going to miss it for anything. The truth is that while he was absent, Brazil were horrible. They even struggled to qualify for the 2002 World Cup. So despite having made it to the last two finals, they weren't exactly favourites, and Ronaldo being unfit didn't do much to help their case. But R9 went on to tell the world why they should never doubt him. He arrived at the tournament with that iconic haircut and went on to lead Brazil to the final once again. But this time, he was fully fit, and he showed us what difference a fully fit Ronaldo made. He put 2 goals past the seemingly impenetrable German defense and led Brazil to a record 5th World Cup trophy. He finished that tournament with 8 goals, having scored against every team he faced except England in the quarterfinals. He won the World Cup Golden Boot and Silver Ball, and for his performances at the World Cup, he won the Ballon d'Or and the FIFA World Player of the Year award again. At this point in football history, if you told fans who were watching Ronaldo that there would be 2 guys named Messi and Cristiano who would come and outdo R9's level of skill, entertainment and success, they would laugh in your face. As far as many fans were concerned, it really could not get much better than Ronaldo. And it wasn't only fans, you know. The great Paolo Maldini said that Ronaldo and Maradona were the 2 best players he ever went up against. Because of how good he was, everyone wanted a piece of R9. These days, many Madrid fans would frown at the thought of their club signing Lionel Messi because of the rivalry there. But despite having previously played for Barcelona, Real Madrid signed him in 2002, and it was met with joy and jubilation from the fans. He was one of the players Florentino Perez signed under his new Galactico's philosophy. At Madrid, Ronaldo lined up with some of the best players in the world, including Figo, Zidane, and Beckham. But even amongst the stars, R9 still managed to shine the brightest. The guy scored a brace in his first 61 seconds as a Real Madrid player. 2 goals in your first minute at a new club. He was mental. He never really needed time to settle in anywhere. As long as he had the ball at his feet, he was fine. In his first season at Madrid, he helped them win the league and the Spanish Super Cup. The following year, he finished as La Liga's top scorer, winning the award for the 2nd time in his career. You want to know how good R9 was? With him in the team, fans and pundits said that Madrid were going to become the first Spanish team to complete the European treble in the 2003-2004 season. But then injury struck again, this time the business end of the season. And without Ronaldo, Madrid crashed and burned. They lost form in the league, eventually losing it to Valencia, got knocked out by Monaco in the quarterfinals of the Champions League, and lost the Copa del Rey final. When R9 returned, Madrid picked back up, but it just wasn't enough. He, however, helped them record their first victory over Barcelona at the Camp Nou in 2 decades, scoring the winner against his former club. Despite the games he missed due to injury, Ronaldo still managed to win the Pichichi that season. What a guy! But injuries just did not let him be. He was in and out of the hospital, and that led to him gaining a lot of weight. He went to the 2006 World Cup with Brazil, overweight and unfit. It wasn't the best tournament, but a fat R9 still managed to break records. He became just the 2nd player in World Cup history to score at least 3 goals in 3 different tournaments. He also became the all-time top scorer at the World Cup, a record which he held until Klose broke it in 2014. He retired with 15 goals in 19 World Cup games and won 2 trophies, a Golden Ball, a Golden Boot, Silver Ball and Bronze Boot. He's undoubtedly one of the greatest players in the history of the World Cup. And if the World Cup is considered the peak of football, what does that tell you about the player? People who didn't watch him say it was just an excuse, but honestly, if R9 had never been plagued by injuries, he could have retired as the outright greatest player in the history of the sport. He was just that good. I mean, even with an injury-plagued career, he's regarded as one of the 10 greatest players of all time. Now imagine him without the injuries. But you know what's crazy? Despite all he did, Ronaldo never won the Champions League, so sadly never completed football. However, there are a handful of players who did, so look at our video 9 footballers who completed football to find out. Thanks for watching, give the video a like and hit that subscribe button.